What's poppin'? Welcome, y'all, back to another episode. Now, this is gonna be a change of topics, a different subject, a different discussion. So, y'all ready to let's get right into it. Y'all tapped in with the head of the game. So, I'm just sick of it, y'all. Whether it be Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all the social medias, I'll be indulging in, however you want to put it, you feel me? I'm sick of the gender wars. I'm sick of, especially when it comes down to our community, the gender wars gotta stop. It gotta come to an end. Feminism, manosphere, MGTOW, all these buzzwords, you feel me? We just gotta understand one thing and one thing only, which is people are entitled to their preferences. People are entitled to their opinion. If they want to get on the internet, you feel me, and speak their piece on how they move or what they're looking for, this is why I really don't comment on videos. I pick and choose because I'm very selective, you feel me? Because it's a Pandora's box when it comes down to trying to tell a person how they should go about said life decision, right? So, for instance, right? Female get on here and be like, man gotta look like this. Man gotta do this. Man gotta go here. Got a long list. And her list is short than a mug, you feel me? If her own personal preference is like, hey, I wanna do the bare minimum and I want said person to do everything, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. You feel me? I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. I'm gonna tell you why it's nothing wrong with that. Not to sit up there and say I agree with her sentiment, but for her to have the liberty to have her own preference. There's nothing wrong with that. Because the number one thing, and this is why I feel like this is what's wrong with society. Most of y'all think that most people get what they deserve. To a certain extent, that may be true, but bigger than that, you get what you negotiate. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by you get what you negotiate? If said opportunity is presented to you and you're in position to obtain it and seize it, who is it responsibility or who has the right to then quantify, or let me break that down, try to measure what is or what isn't your value system between one person and another, right? Whether it's interracial dating, all the stereotypes. That's where the stereotypes come from, right? People seeing a pattern with other people making decisions and seeing a certain outcome. So let's take it from the other side. If I do want to sit up there and be like, hey, I don't want to work. I don't want to clean. I don't want to drive. I don't want to be fully responsible over myself as an adult. I either need somebody to fill in. I need somebody to help me, steer this shit with me. What's the problem with that? Right? Now, yeah, some people are, oh, you're a womanizer. Oh, you're a bum. Oh, you're a scrub. Oh, you're a lowlife, right? You get what you negotiate. So if said person has the wherewithal to be like, hey, this is who I want to be. This is how I want to go about it. I'm not going to judge that person for that dating preference. Hey, I want a woman to pay all the bills and I just come in, play my video games, smoke my weed, so on and so forth, right? Now, here's where we get into murky waters when it comes down to this conversation, because I've already laid the landscape of the subjective part about it. Here's where things become a tad bit dangerous. When you start speaking for others, right? Or you start generalizing altogether, where you get on the internet and be like, oh, black women is ghetto, they ratchet, they manly, they independent, they don't want to hear nothing, so on and so forth, right? When guys make that position, What it tells me is that it's not ignoring that we don't got issues, because we do. We got a lot of underlying issues. A lot of this stuff is systemic. A lot of it is generational. A lot of it is trauma. And I don't think we should address said issue with another issue. But that's another, that I'll expand on that possibly later on in this video. The only reason why I'm bringing up this point, why I feel like it's dangerous, is because now you're trying to tell other people how to live their life when they cards, they might have a different set of cards they gotta play. So a lot of this stuff ain't translatable to the next person. Okay, I'm black, you black. What are some major differences that could separate the two and put us in two different categories? I'm on the West, you on the East. I'm this age, you that age. I grew up like this and went through these life experiences. You went through those, right? So when people get on the internet, right, and be like, oh, well, you know, these women, all they want is degrees, and they don't want to listen to nobody, and they don't want to be led, and so on and so forth. It's okay to open up dialogue and have a conversation and agree to disagree, because everybody has their own opinion about what they experienced, either watching somebody else or their own personal life, right? That's okay. You feel me? We can open up those adult, uncomfortable, discussions between one another and get at least try to meet somewhere in the middle if we can. The problem is that we don't want to listen to each other. We don't want to listen to the other side, because the other side, meaning that if someone's right, that means someone's wrong. Y'all both could be right. Y'all both could be wrong. Y'all got to think about outside the box on this, because who really benefits out of these said gender wars at the end of the day? The people that aren't in the wars to begin with. Now, who are these people? Other races, right? Other classes of people, right? If your finances together, not to say you don't have issues, but a lot of potential issues. Being financially stable could either address said issues or be a deodorant to where you could put certain traumas and situations off and actually get some professional help. There's lots of ways to address said situation, right? I'm just tired of the gender wars, y'all. I think we just need to see the big picture and see it for what it is, which is, okay, if a female want to go out there and put herself out there, now I'm not condoning that, you feel me? A female being raunchy or not showing a certain level of, modesty, covering herself up, but you, to a certain extent, you are what you attract. You are what you attract, but just because you're attractive don't mean that you're gonna always draw an equal value system towards you. Because if you are someone valuable, even the quote unquote invaluable people want someone that's valuable, right? If a man got money, right, and say he wants to sit up there and play to his strong suit. Now, I'm not an advocate for a person that would suggest a man to leave with his wallet a trick. But if your superpower is like, hey, I pay for everything, I'm a good provider, you having provision and it's tangible, and maybe you're a man of a few words, things of that nature, right? Just play to your strengths, right? It's gonna come with a lot of negative connotation. Oh, you tricking. Oh, she wouldn't be with you if you didn't have money. Whatever, right? And guess what? That person might be inclined to have reality and be like, so what? This is what makes me attractive. Not who I am, not what I do, but what I produce. You know, because some people could do something that's substantial on paper. You know, you're productive, but doesn't automatically translate to being a producer in comparison to somebody that does the bare minimum and able to have an abundance of results. But I digress. My point is that people just gotta do what's best for them. Now, I understand, like I said, coming to the table, dressing up on comfortable topics, learning from each other. You feel me? As a group of people, and then also as individuals. This is not a monolith. You get on here, man. You get on this internet, and it's a messed up place. It's a really messed up place because you do got people that pander, right? You do have women that are quote unquote pick-me's, right? Some people do have hidden agendas. Or some people are just really genuine and trying to bring awareness, and people do find it refreshing to hear sentiments of said group of people from the opposite sex, right? So if women come out and make videos and hold women accountable, men find that refreshing, right? Oh yeah, dang, that's a dope woman. You know, she's not afraid to speak her mind. She's not gonna go along to get along. She's really sitting up there calling right is right and wrong is wrong, regardless of who's doing it, right? Very refreshing. Vice versa. Do feel like when men stand up and they stand up for black women. Like, hey, you know, we may got our issues, we may got our differences, but you're not finna get on this internet and dog our women. Women find that refreshing, right? Because women at the end of the day do want to be protected. Whether they're wrong, right, so on and so forth, everything in between. So we can go back and forth. We can sit up there and make certain stances and positions where women get on the internet and be like, oh yeah, all men is dogs. All men is bums, and you should never take care of a man because once a man get on his feet, he's gonna leave you for the woman that he really wanted. You know, it's a byproduct of a byproduct of a byproduct, right? And not to get too historical, but this might come off a little long with it, but bear with me, right? So let's look at this from a historical point of view in a systemic aspect, right? So, and here's the slippery slope where gender wars on top of political stances, whether it's Republican or Democrat, gets intertwined with this incident, right? Depends on your perspective and what statistics you draw from. Because some would say that during the Jim Crow era, we were more united than ever because we needed each other more than ever. But once you gave us, you know, equality, more rights, more, you know, ability to have a certain liberty in this country, some people could look at it like, hey, that was a step forward, and it was a step forward. I'm not going to downplay that. It was a step forward, but it does give people the license to sit up there and look at some of these government programs, systemically also dragging the black man out the house, Not I'm talking about figuratively, not literally, right? With the whole, closing down the industrial system and, putting crack in the hood and, making the hood what it was and, crippling the black community to where they had to be dependent on these government programs, and that could be looked at as a Trojan horse, right? Because in my opinion, as strong as the civil rights movement was, I feel like we was at our strongest during the Black Panther Party. That's just my opinion. But with that being said, though, single moms, generational single moms, young men, young boys, generational single moms. So look at it like this, right? Boy becomes a man, has a family, nuclear family. But because said man never had the father figure, the authoritative figure, it's still like growing up with a single mom, right? To a certain extent. Now, there are some people that could be out in the hood, good, bad, indifferent, morally, but they learn some stand-up traits from some people that may or may lived a certain kind of way, right? But the point is that this conversation is so multi-layered, and I'm trying to summarize a lot of this so y'all can have a lot to think about, but I don't think I can make a video long enough to address everything that's happened, how we got here, where we came from, and where we possibly might be trending towards, in such detail. But I just want y'all to understand that nobody benefits for beefing with the opposite sex, right? Like I said, are there conversations that need to be had? Are there things that need to be addressed? You can't just sweep them up under the rug and be like, hey, everybody just, be free and do what you want and, so on and so forth. To a certain extent, yes, but within reason, right? Because there is an objective and a subjective reality to this. I'm not sitting up there saying men should just be losers and beat on their women and be like, hey, bro said I can just do whatever I want because it's my preference. No, you feel me? It's still a fine line between, not a fine line, but it's black and white when it comes down to right and wrong, when it comes down to certain things, right? Some things are just unacceptable regardless of who's doing it or what the reason is for it. But just to keep, this conversation in context, it's sad, because I was just watching yesterday, maybe the day before, where a woman sat up there and said, yeah, you a goofy. Why would you go 50-50 with a man? Why isn't he paying for everything? Get up and go to work and take care of that woman. She's tired of working, and taking care of the kids and being a homemaker and so on and so forth, right? And I'm gonna keep it 100 with the women, right? This is not me being biased. You feel me? If you know anything about me, I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. You feel me? I'm not gonna, look it through from a bias standpoint, right? And I'm not trying to give dudes and out to be lazy and not to sit up there and pursue, a certain way about handling himself, regardless of the results. Is it realistic in this country for all black men to succeed and take care of all their women and, take care of their women, and black women could just sit up there and live a soft life all their life? Systemically, no, that's not possible. I would consider myself an outlier, right? But putting me aside, the point is that when we get on social media and we play this dangerous compare and contrast game of, oh, my dude pay for trips and he pay for flights and he take me to dinner and he courts me and he's romantic and he looks like this and he drives this kind of car and so on and so forth, right? You're playing a dangerous game. And I'm not saying, like I said, at the end of the day, you can have your preferences. But when this said woman was sitting up there saying, hey, this is what I want, and you're gullible if you don't want what I want because this is how they are, that's where I draw the line when it comes down to this. This what makes it a gender war. Is because you sitting up there saying, I said what I said, this is my dating preferences, so on and so forth, and you know, you would be ill-advised not to take my advice. And I went through the comments, and it was mixed conversations from both genders, right? There was some women being like, yeah, she gonna be single. Now she could be dating somebody, she could have somebody, or she can have a family. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know these people personally. She could be having the best situation, and it could be an anomaly, right? But that's why I say it's once we understand what the true enemy is, which is the system, and we weaponize and unify us as a people instead of us being individuals or trying to act like somebody got to win at the expense of somebody else's loss, because it goes on both sides. And this is why I say the gender wars is pretty much useless. If black women, quote unquote, win and black men lose, y'all lose too. And vice versa. If black women lose and black men just, yeah, we told y'all, we still lose. Why is that? Because we need each other at the end of the day. We don't get this far without trying to understand one another, man. So, and you know, I seen another video. I'm pretty sure y'all seen that video too of the one cat talking about your LBGT. If you dating black women today because of their masculine independent traits, right? And I just feel like that's a very dangerous thing to say about our women, bruh. Especially historically, like all that we went through on both sides. And I'll leave this video off on this sentiment. And this is why I brought up the point of it's not set up for all black men to win. The only way I can see us getting out of this is not by men out earning their counterparts. Is unifying with their women and understanding that the Trojan horse, to a certain extent, was women empowerment. No, don't hold your breath. Hold on, let me explain. You feel me? Don't gasp. This is why I feel like feminism and women empowerment, when it came down to the black community, was one of the worst things that could have hit us. This is why I consider it a Trojan horse. Because when you undercut the pecking order and you rearrange and you change up the natural dynamic of how a nuclear family is supposed to function, a couple of things happen. Naturally, biochemically, hormonally, whatever you want to call it, so many different aspects change because the roles are switched based off of said environment that's controlling that, right? So let me break that down. If let me put it to y'all like this, right? If you depower the man and you empower the woman, naturally, aesthetically, it's gonna look like the man's fault because she's gonna look at it like, if I can do it, you can do it too. Especially you can actually do it better than me, right? If we stop quantifying, if black women stop quantifying the black man based off of his earning potential and off of real intangibles like character, being a stand-up guy, standing up for you, speaking for you, fighting for you, living for you, sacrificing for you. And results ain't putting you away. You feel me? The sad and unfortunate thing would be that the women of this generation, along with the men, would have to suffer to prop up and set up the next generation to live vicariously through us giving up our opportunities. And I feel like that's exactly what the civil rights men and women of the past had did for us, right? Getting water hosed down, bitten by dogs, put in jail, incarcerated, losing their jobs, putting it all out on the line. Not for them to live a certain kind of life, yeah. But they was fighting for their children to live better than them. And I'm looking at it like we may have to make that same sacrifice. Now, I'm not sitting up there saying, like I said before, to give the cop out for a black man to be bombs and not to sit up there and not pursue, becoming better and being the head of their household, but just quantifying a black man by his pockets based off of this system in today's times. I feel like you're doing yourself a disservice. I'm just gonna keep it honest with you. You're doing yourself a big disservice. Black women gonna have to work harder than ever. Black men gonna have to work harder than ever. And we're gonna have to get along with each other in order to subside and come to a common ground where we can, just live amongst each other. And we're always gonna have things to correct. You feel me? That's just human nature. But thanks for watching the video, y'all. Thoughts, comments, later or below. Like the video. Most importantly, last but not least, subscribe to the channel. I'm gone.